Hello and happy Friday first and foremost. Thanks for joining us for another episode of Hoops Talk. I'm your host, Mike DuPont. Today is Friday, January the 17th. Thanks for tuning in. However you might be choosing to follow along, feel free to check the description in the comments below for links to additional channels should you feel the need to do so. And let's just dive right in. All right, looking at tonight's hoops action, we've got two games on the national slate. So we've got a national doubleheader that'll be taking place on ESPN, starting with a 6 o'clock tip between the Chicago Bulls and the Philadelphia 76ers. Again, the Chicago Bulls and the Philadelphia 76ers will tip off in the first half of our national doubleheader tonight. A few pieces of news and notes about the two teams, starting with the Bulls. Chicago is 1-4 in its last 5 away contests. The Philadelphia 76ers are 5-0 in their last 5 home contests. This will be taking place in Philadelphia. The Sixers are expected to be without Joel Embiid, who is listed as out on the Sixers' most recent injury report, dealing with a dislocated right index finger. Joel Embiid is not expected to play tonight when the Philadelphia 76ers take on the Chicago Bulls. It's a 6 o'clock tip on ESPN. My question that I would pose to you, whoever may be following along with this, however you might be following along with this, we definitely appreciate you. It's a question that I've posed throughout the week, and I'm curious to hear back from you. Should Philadelphia be positioning itself to make a move as the trade deadline approaches? Looking ahead to the second half of our doubleheader, the Portland Trail Blazers will take on the Dallas Mavericks at 8:30 on ESPN as soon as the Chicago Bulls and Philadelphia 76ers get done with their contest. Again, the Portland Trail Blazers and the Dallas Mavericks will tip off at 8:30 on ESPN. A few pieces of news and notes between the two teams. Portland is 3-2 in its last 5 away contests. The Dallas Mavericks are 2-3 in their last 5 home contests. Kristaps Porzingis did make his way onto the Mavs' most recent injury report, according to ESPN reporter Tim McMahon. Kristaps Porzingis is listed as out, not expected to play tonight when the Mavericks take on the Trail Blazers at 8:30 on ESPN due to soreness in his right knee. Again, Kristaps Porzingis not expected to play tonight due to soreness in his knee when the Mavericks take on the Portland Trail Blazers at 8:30 p.m. on ESPN. A question I would pose to whoever might be following along, I'm curious to hear your thoughts, whether you're following along on Instagram, YouTube, or on Facebook. Does Dallas have enough to make a playoff run? The Mavericks have really, I want to give credit where credit is due. Many people have not been surprised by what the Mavericks have done, just off the moment, based on the momentum that the Mavericks ended last season with. But the majority of us are shocked at what the Mavericks are doing and how they've positioned themselves potentially to take over the Southwest Division. Right now, they're only, I believe the last time I looked, they were only a half game behind the Rockets for the lead in the Southwest Division. And the Rockets are on a bit of a skid right now. They've lost their last 2 contests. The Mavericks are positioning themselves. My question I would pose, does Dallas have enough to make a playoff run? And by playoff run, I'm not talking about do they have enough to get into the first round and go 7 games. Does Dallas have enough to potentially make it through 1, 2, maybe even 3 rounds? We're just going to go ahead and safely assume that the Mavericks are going to make it through the first round, whoever they get matched up against, short of the Rockets finishing 5th and the Mavericks finishing 4th. That we're going to go ahead and safely pencil the Mavericks into the next round, although that would be a very interesting scenario. That we're going to go ahead and pencil them into the second round. I'm curious, do they have enough to make it beyond that? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Let me know. Other than that, not too much on the docket for today. We do have some other NBA games in action tonight. The Spurs are in action. They're going to take on the Atlanta Hawks. That game is not going to be nationally televised. The Grizzlies are also in action as well. The Memphis is going to tip off, I believe, at 7 o'clock p.m. That's not a nationally televised game either. Unlike last weekend, we do have several national games on the docket for Saturday and Sunday. We'll revisit that tomorrow. Happy Friday. Thanks for tuning in. Have a blessed weekend.